And to top it off, Hillary Dillery's running for president, all right? The Benghazi girl, you know Benghazi? Who cares if they're dead? It's over, right? And remember that Waco was burned down when Clinton was in the White House. And remember the GATT and the free trade and NAFTA treaties went in with Bill Clinton and the Clintons, the Clinton crime family in the White House, okay? So let's just take a quick look at who's running for president on top of all this business that's going to be closing and all the jobs that are going to be lost. Hillary for president, really? The Clinton body bags. You like that one? I do. You're going to have to zoom in now, please. Food for your thoughts. Just a quick refresher course, lest we forget what has happened to many friends of the Clintons in the past. Well, we had James McDougal, Clinton's convicted Whitewater partner, when they robbed the Whitewater savings and loans, die of an apparent heart attack while in solitary confinement. He was a key witness in Ken Starr's investigation. And you had Mary Mahoney, a former White House intern, was murdered in July 1997 at a Starbucks coffee shop in Georgetown. The murder happened just after she was to go public with her story of sexual harassment in the White House. And then we have Vince Foster, number 3, former White House counselor and colleague of Hillary Clinton at Little Rock's Rose Law Firm. He died of a gunshot wound to the head. It was ruled a suicide, but there was no blood or anything on his hand or in his face or anything to show it happened in the park where they found him. Let's continue here. I love this Clinton body count. We had Ron Brown, Secretary of Commerce and former Democratic National Committee chairman, reported to have died by impact in a plane crash. A pathologist close to the investigation reported that there was a hole in the top of Brown's skull resembling a gunshot wound. At the time of his death, Brown was being investigated and spoke publicly of his willingness to cut a deal with prosecutors. The rest of the people on the plane also died, and a few days later the traffic controller committed suicide. And then we have C. Victor Reiser II. Reiser, a major player in the Clinton fundraising organization, died in a private plane crash in July of 1992. Paul Tully, Democrat National Committee political director, was found dead in a hotel room in Little Rock, Arkansas, September 1992. He was described by Clinton as a dear friend and a trusted advisor. I guess he wasn't that trusted, was he? And then we had Ed Wiley, Clinton fundraiser, found dead November 1993, deep in the woods of Virginia, of a gunshot wound to the head. It was ruled a suicide. Ed Wiley died on the same day his wife, Kathleen Wiley, claimed that Bill Clinton groped her in the Oval Office in the White House. Ed Wiley was involved in several Clinton fundraising events. And Jerry Parks, head of Clinton's gubernatorial security team in Little Rock, Arkansas, gunned down in his car at a deserted intersection outside Little Rock. Parks' son said his father was building a dossier on Clinton. He allegedly threatened to reveal the information, and after Parks died, the files were mysteriously removed from his house. Excuse me. And then we have James Bunch. He died from a gunshot suicide. It was reported that he had a black book of people who contained names of influential people who visited prostitutes in Texas and Arkansas. And then also with the body bag count of the Clinton family, the Clinton crime family, we have James Wilson. He was found dead in May of 1993 from an apparent hanging suicide. He was reported to have ties in the Whitewater theft scandal of the Clintons. And then we have Kathy Ferguson. She was the ex-wife of an Arkansas state trooper, Danny Ferguson. She was found dead in May of 1994 in her living room with a gunshot to her head. It was also ruled a suicide, even though there were several packed suitcases as if she was going somewhere. Up, please. Danny Ferguson was the co-defendant, the trooper, the Arkansas trooper, along with Bill Clinton in the Paula Jones lawsuit. Kathy Ferguson was a possible collaborating witness for Paula Jones. And then you have Bill Shelton, Arkansas state trooper and fiancé of Kathy Ferguson. Critical of the suicide ruling of his fiancée. He was then found dead in June of 1994 of a gunshot wound, also ruled a suicide at the gravesite of his fiancée. And then we have Grady Baugh, attorney for Clinton's friend Dan Lassiter. He died of jumping out of a window of a tall building in January of 1994. His client was a convicted drug distributor. And Florence Martin, 14 in the body bags, accountant and subcontractor for the CIA, was related to Barry Seal, Mena, Arkansas airport drug smuggling case. He died of 3 gunshot wounds. Who else do we have in the Clinton body bags of the Clinton crime family? And she's running for president. Well, we have Suzanne Coleman. Reportedly had an affair with Clinton when he was the Arkansas Attorney General. She died of a gunshot wound to the back of the head. It was ruled a suicide. And she was pregnant at the time of her death. And then we have Paula Grover, Clinton's speech interpreter for the deaf from 1978 until her death of December 9, 1992. She died in a one-car accident. And then we have an investigative reporter, Danny Casolaro. He was an investigative reporter investigating the Mena cocaine airport drug connection with Clinton and Columbia and Arkansas Development Finance Authority. He slit his wrist, apparently in the middle of his investigation. And we can't forget Paul Wiltshire, the attorney investigating corruption at the Mena airport, Mena, Arkansas, with the cocaine, with Cal Serrano. And the 1980 October surprise, he was found dead on a toilet on June 22, 1993, in his Washington, D.C. apartment. He delivered a report to Janet Reno 3 weeks before his death. And number 19 body bag of the Clintons, we have John Parnell Walker, Whitewater investigator for Resolution Trust Corporation. He jumped to his death, too, from his Arlington, Virginia apartment balcony, August 15, 1993. He was investigating the Morgan Guarantees scandal of money theft. Also, Barbara Wise. Oh, this is really something. Commerce Department staffer. Worked closely with Ron Brown and John Hong. Cause of death unknown. She died on November 29, 1996. Her bruised and nude body was found locked in her office at the Department of Commerce. Who else do we have in body bags that's connected with the Clinton crime family? Well, let's find out. Charles Meshner, Assistant Secretary of Commerce, who gave John Hong special security clearance. He died shortly thereafter in a small plane crash, too. And we can't forget Dr. Stanley Hurd, Chairman of the National Chiropractic Healthcare Advisory Committee. He died with his attorney, Steve Dixon, in a small plane crash. Dr. Hurd, in addition to serving on Clinton's advisory council, personally treated Clinton's mother, stepfather, and brother. I guess he knew a little too much. And we can't forget Barry Seal. This is a big one here. The Barry Seal body bag. He was the drug-running TWA pilot out of Mena, Arkansas, the airport bringing the cocaine in, and the death was no accident. And we have Johnny Lawhorn Jr. He was a mechanic. He found a check made out to Bill Clinton in the trunk of a car left at his repair shop. He was found dead after his car hit a utility pole. And then, of course, Stanley Huggins investigated Madison Garandy. His death was a purported suicide, but his report was never released. And we have in body bag 26, Herschel Friday, attorney and Clinton fundraiser, died March 1, 1994, when his plane exploded. Boy, these guys just didn't know what kind of a plane to buy, did they? Holy crap-a-roos here, you know what I mean? All this testimony and witnesses and plane crashes, planes exploding, and all these things. That's why people have always told me, Dr. Wickstrom, that don't fly. Because, let me tell you what, ladies and gentlemen, they will destroy an entire plane just to get one person. They will kill everyone on board. Just like they did on TWA Flight 800 off the East Coast some years ago, full of French intelligence officers and liaison personnel bringing information back to France about the treason in Washington. It was hit by 2 missiles shot off the eastern seaboard at TWA Flight 800, knocking that plane out of the air, killing everybody aboard. Now, what else do we have here? Well, body bag 27, Kevin Ives and Don Henry, known as the Boys on the Track case. Reports say the boys may have stumbled upon the Mena, Arkansas airport drug operation. The controversial case, the initial reports of death said, was due to falling asleep on the railroad tracks, and the train ran over him. Can you imagine that? Later reports claimed the two boys had been slain before being placed on the railroad tracks. Many linked to the case died before their testimony could come before a grand jury. And then what else do we have? Oh, you mean it isn't over yet? The body bag count of the Clinton crime family, and she's running for president? Let's continue here. And don't forget who was president and perjured himself under oath in court that he never touched that Monica Lewinsky, right? Okay. Now, the following persons had information on the Ives-Henry case. You had Keith Conley. He died when his motorcycle slammed into the back of a truck. Keith McKiskell died. He was stabbed 113 times in November of 1988. We had Greg Collins. He died from a gunshot wound, January 1989. We're talking now when Clinton was governor of Arkansas. Jeff Rhodes. He was shot, mutilated, and found burned in a trash dump in April of 1989. We had James Milan. He was found decapitated. However, the coroner ruled his death was due to natural causes. I guess he lost his head working for Clinton. Here we go. We have body bag number 33, Jordan Kettleson. He was found shot to death in the front seat of his pickup truck in June of 1990. And body bag 34 is Richard Winters, a suspect in the Ives-Henry deaths. He was killed in a set-up robbery in July of 1989. And as a bonus, a little more frosting on the body bag count of the Clinton crime family, the following. Clinton bodyguards are dead, Arkansas state troopers and others. And this is the name of the body bags here. We have Major William S. Barkley Jr., Captain Scott J. Reynolds, Sergeant Brian Hanley, Sergeant Tim Sable, Major General William Robinson, Major General, Colonel William Disberger, Colonel Robert Kelly, Specialist Gary Rhodes, Steve Willis, Robert Williams, Conway LeBlue, Todd McKeon. So this is quite an impressive list. You can pass this on, or if you're watching this on DVD, you can down burn it, or you can order one from me or write me. Okay, you have my address. Let the public become aware of what happens to friends of the Clintons, especially Hillary's friends. I'm sure the four guys that were waiting for help in Benghazi, they thought maybe she was their friend too when she was the Secretary of State, but they found out different, didn't they? So, Hillary for president? Hillary for president with the Clinton crime family? So what are you going to have? You're going to have Hillary running as the Democrat of the Clinton crime family against Jeb Bush of the Bush crime family. Whoa! Voila! Boy, do you ever have a choice. And you know what? You're still out there with the stupid virus. You still think Tinkerbell's going to come and save your butt, right? Wrong. That is totally wrong. And now, we got all that stuff out of the way. We go to Psalms 83.